President Joe Biden has formally approved the deployment of 3,000 U.S. troops to Poland, Germany and Romania. The Pentagon announced Wednesday, in a move to bolster NATO countries in Eastern Europe with tens of thousands of United States troops amassed along Ukraine's border. The deployment of troops to Eastern Europe was the first to provide support to NATO, which felt threatened by the threat of a Russian military invasion near Ukraine. U.S. officials said. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said the deployments included roughly 2,000 troops that would deploy from the United States to Poland and Germany. In addition, approximately 1,000 troops currently based in Germany were moving to Romania. The move is the most significant sign to date that the U.S. is preparing for the prospect of Russian President Vladimir Putin delaying an invasion of Ukraine, as Russia is showing no signs of slowing down after several rounds of diplomatic talks with the United States and NATO. Biden signed off on the additional troops following a meeting on Tuesday morning at the White House with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Joint Chiefs Chairman Gen. Mark Milley. Biden told that the decision was totally consistent with what the U.S. has told Russia throughout discussions. "It's totally consistent with what I told Putin in the beginning," Biden said in a brief exchange in the White House East Room. "As long as he's acting aggressively, we're going to make sure we reassure our NATO allies in Eastern Europe we're there." At the same time the U.S. was preparing to send troops to Europe, the White House said it was no longer describing a potential Russian invasion of Ukraine as imminent, suggesting the word sent an unintended message. "I think others have used that once. And then we stopped using it because I think it sent a message that we weren't intending to send, which was that we knew President Putin had made a decision," White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said. Last week, Psaki said an invasion by Russian troops of Ukraine continued to be imminent, a description that drew anger in Kiev. Ukrainian officials, including President Volodymyr Zelensky, disagreed, arguing the descriptions could cause panic and economic turmoil. A Ukrainian official told C that Kiev welcomed the reinforcement of NATO's eastern flank, but hopes it will be accompanied with continued supplies of defensive weapons to Ukraine, including sophisticated air defenses. Kirby stressed these additional troop movements don't mean the U.S. believes Putin has decided to invade Ukraine or any other country, but, if he does invade Ukraine, obviously there's going to be consequences for that. "We want to make sure that he knows any move on NATO is going to be resisted, and it's going to trigger Article 5, and we're going to be committed to the defense of our allies," Kirby said. Last week, the U.S. placed 8,500 troops in the U.S. on heightened alert in case a NATO response force is called up and U.S. forces are needed quickly. But the U.S. and NATO have tens of thousands of other troops already in Europe to draw on for any additional deployments to Eastern European allies. The U.S. deployment to Poland consists of about 1,700 troops from an 82nd Airborne Division Infantry Brigade combat team based at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. There are about 300 service members from the 18th Airborne Corps at Fort Bragg deploying to Germany. And the U.S. is moving a Stryker squadron of about 1,000 troops from Germany to Romania, Kirby said. The troops will operate on a bilateral basis with their host countries, since NATO has not yet activated the multinational response force. The U.S. and a handful of allies had been in discussions to deploy thousands more troops to Eastern European NATO countries before any potential Russian invasion of Ukraine as a show of support in the face of Moscow's ongoing aggression. A Latvian diplomat told that Latvia, which borders Russia and Belarus, is ready and willing to host more troops from the U.S. It's been a long-standing topic of discussion with the Pentagon and those discussions are still ongoing.